Okay, we're ready to cut this horse. Bear in mind that pressure treated wood is really caustic. It's a good idea to wear safety glasses, a mask, and some gloves. The sawdust goes everywhere when you're cutting it, and you just want to keep that away from yourself. Now that we've made our cuts on our stairs, we've made our tread cut, and we've made our riser cut. And we've only gone to the point where the two meet. Now it's time to finish that cut with a Sawzall. Now you can use a handsaw if you like, but a Sawzall tends to go a little bit easier. All right, I've laid this horse up here just to illustrate what's happening. Down at the bottom we have 1 3/4, like we said earlier. Up here, I've put it at 77 inches because we had a little bit of fall there. There was 1/4 inch, and so I decided I'll just put it at 77 inches. We wanted 76 3/4. I just held it up just a tad more just to illustrate what's happening. You'll notice that the horse is nice and level, and if you'll notice down below at the bottom of the horse, you'll see that the horse extends very far, and up here the horse is imitating where the brick will be, right to the top of the brick. Well, we know that we didn't want to do this. We wanted to use the landing as our first stair. So what we'll do is we'll cut this right off to mimic this, but now our height will be here. We'll slide this whole horse back to this point right here, and our first step will be here. Bear in mind that there'll be bricks on top of here and bricks on top of here, so everything will blend in together. So now as we slide this over here, you notice that there's not a very big distance here. We have to remember that whatever the height is on top of whatever you're putting on top of your stair, we have to take it off the bottom of the horse. So we'll be cutting a little bit off the bottom of the horse to drop this whole horse down a little bit to take into account whatever material we're going to be using on top. And in this case, we're using brick. All right, now down here at the bottom, we have our 7.5 inch riser here. It's a little tough to mark while it's sitting here, but we're going to take these 3 inches right off the bottom here and drop this whole thing down. So after I cut the 3 inches off this lower tread, I'll walk over to this horse and I'll write P-A-T, affectionately known as Pat. Pat stands for pattern, and we'll cut the other two horses to match. So we'll just lay this horse on the other 2x12s, and we'll just trace it out. That way every one of the horses will look alike. They'll match one another, they'll line up, everything will be nice. I still have my buttons on my square, and all I have to do is just come up to 3 inches right there. And make a line. Now, if this is the first time cutting horses, you might want to put a big B down here for bottom. Worst thing would be is if you cut 3 inches off the top of your horse, and after all that work it'd be terrible. So maybe a big B and a big T, and If your kids have crayons, crayons work really good. You can use a kid's crayon, or you can use the grown-up version, which is called Keel. It's very similar. A big B there, so I remember that this is the bottom. And then over here, I'll just go over my pat. Because after I cut the second one, I don't want to use the second one as the pattern. I want to continue using the first one as the pattern. Perhaps I'll have 10 horses, and I want them all to be the same, so I always use the same one as the pattern. We made our last cut on our first horse. You remember our horse's name is Pat, our pattern. We're going to take this 2x12 and lay our pattern on it and trace it out. But the first thing we need to do is we need to look down this 2x12 and crown it like we did with the pattern. And what I see is, as I'm looking down this edge, is that the crown is actually here. So I'll take my keel and make a big arrow pointing towards the crown. Next thing I'll do is I'll take the pattern and lay it so the step area is up on the crown. We do not care about how this looks up here on the horse. We don't care about the steps in relation to this 2x12. What we do care about, however, is this back edge. The bottom of this first horse, the pattern, needs to line up at this point, at the very corner here of the bottom of the horse, and at the top. If this 2x12 arcs more or crowns more, it doesn't matter. We just want to make sure that this point and the furthest point on the back side is lined up with the back edge of this 2x12. I'm looking down on this 2x12 and I'm trying to line up as many of the knots in the areas that I'm going to be cutting out. Now I have a knot here and a knot here, and I see another one there. 3 out of 10, that's not bad. So we'll go ahead and just trace with a pencil, not a dull pencil, a good sharp pencil, hopefully. I may be repeating myself, but I want to make it crystal clear that these horses are delicate animals. These little triangles that we have here follow the grain line, and they can snap off really easy. So your pattern is the one that you take really good care of. It's your baby. Take care of it. Now what we'll do from here on is we'll mark every other horse that we're doing. We just keep marking each one of our horses, and then we'll do all the cutting at the same time. So it's better to do all the marking first and then do all the cutting. Mark one, cut one, mark one, cut one doesn't really work well. Okay, so let's move ahead.
Home Improvement Camp. Have at it.